All right, so let's keep going forward here. So now I'm going to add in our atmosphere. Here's our atmosphere. I need to reformat this to 1080p. And I'm just going to add this on top. And instead of over, I'm going to choose screen. So we look at it before and after. It's not much, so let's add a color correct. In the color correct, we can really boost this up. And there we've got all of our atmosphere. And there's fireflies in this as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the same kind of firefly technique to get rid of these fireflies. So let's throw down another Luma key or keyer. Let's grab this. In the alpha channel, we want to crush it. Bring that all the way up. There we go. Now I want to color correct this down. So if we look at a color correct and in the color, if we use that as the mask, the Luma key, now if we go down, you see that we're bringing all of that down. It doesn't need to be perfect, but we're not going to really notice it. And in dilate here, maybe we want to, well, maybe not a dilate, let's do a blur. And blur the channel a little bit so it doesn't have hard edges. Okay, maybe I'm going to dilate or erode. Let's erode that. Make it a little bigger, and in the blur, there we go. So it's, again, it's not perfect, but you can see how we're definitely eliminating quite a bit of this. There we go. So now let's just kind of add this on top again. So you see we got a little bit there, but I'm really boosting up the volume on purpose. So all right, now we can just color correct the actual atmosphere. So maybe I want to increase the contrast and just have like some of the lower parts come out, but you see how we've got, you know, all that control now. So if we look at it before and after, there we go. And to be honest, we can just blur this whole thing as well. Doesn't need to be so perfect, right? It's just a basic channel. So there we go. We've pretty much eliminated all of those fireflies. And now we're just adding that on top. There we go. And it adds a little, it definitely adds a little something. You see in the shadows, we're getting some nice kind of fill in there. And so I really like that. It's a cheap pass to do. And whenever you're flying kind of through clouds and stuff like that, I really think these types of passes go a long way. All right, so after this, maybe let's do a basic color correction in general. So on the entire thing, maybe I want to, you know, increase some areas or decrease it. I just know that towards the end, we could be blowing out our sky here, so maybe I want to reduce the gain there. So I'm going to leave that there for now. And finally, let's throw in our fireball, or a volcano. Our volcano is going to be fairly simple. And I'm going to include the one that I had the reflections with, but I'm not going to use it, so I'm actually just going to throw it on shuffle. And in the shuffle, I'm just going to use the volume channel. So here we go. So if we just kind of throw a merge down over top, there we have it. It's right into place. It looks pretty great. I just want to do some basic color correction. So mainly I want to turn down the areas of the fireball here. So I really want to key down the bright spots. So if we throw down a color correct and gain this whole thing down, see we're gaining down the entire fireball. So because we didn't have a fire channel like our mantra, what I want to throw down is another keyer. Let's key an area here. So everywhere that's hot, I want to key that kind of down. And I don't want to crush it too much because I want there to be a little bit of a fade. But there we go. Now we've got a mask on the hot spots. So now if we plug in the mask input to our Luma keyer there, and look at that, now we can really gain down just these areas. So also on this key, I'm going to blur the key there so we don't have such hard edges when we're trying to gain down those areas. So I'm just going to blur this just a little bit like that. So now if we look at our color correct, we've got more of a fade when we're blurring it down. So you can see we can bring this all the way down to about 0.1, about 10%. Look at all this detail that we got back that we had lost before. And we've kind of faded it in with our mask and that blur there. So we're kind of fading in to the hottest spots the color correction. So all right, let's just kind of take a look at that. And now we're just kind of dialing it in at this point. So now what about a basic color correction on the actual fireball here, on the actual volcano here? So I just want to do a basic color correction. You know, maybe I want to increase the shadows a little bit, bring that up a little bit, try to match the shadows of the rest of the shot. That's pretty good. And you know, maybe let's just turn that off. We can kind of reduce the overall gain in the highlighted areas. All right, and finally, I just want to try to reduce this kind of red banding that's going on. There we go. So kind of just mess around with it. So I've pretty much got the regular render here, and I've actually keyed the color correct gain here. So when it comes out, it's a value of 1, but then it goes down to a value of 5 real quick. And this is based on just the animation because I wanted to see more of those flames. So I've keyed down the gain a little bit to a really low value. And then I brought it back up. So I'm just keying the gain down and then back up. And I've kept the gamma to increase the shadows a little bit. And that's all I've changed there. So in the color correct, now the color correct further is bringing down the overall gain of everything. And I'm just trying to keep all this detail in here. So you can see how by just kind of keying and animating the gain parameters, we're really being able to control those hot spots and where they are. Because sometimes towards the end we'll get some fireballs and we'll get a really hot spot as well. I'm just trying to be able to see the whole volcano fire throughout the entire animation. And finally, we merge that over. This is what we got. So your render might be a little different. And And then finally, let's add a glow. So I'm going to add a glow. I'm going to hook it up to our channel here. And the glow I'm going to end up, let's see, let's screen this over. The glow I'm going to end up sort of on the screen. The glow I'm going to key as well. So for one, I want a really big I want a really big scale. We drop down the tolerance a little bit. And there we go. There's another crash that just happened. So let's kind of keep going forward. So let's decrease the tolerance of the glow. And in the glow, I'm just going to key the values here. So let's say at the beginning when it pops out of the volcano, I'm going to key the brightness up a little bit. Let's set a key there. And once we're kind of through everything, and the volcano's in full swing, we'll reduce the glow a little bit. And there you have it. So that's kind of it, guys. So finally, I just like to throw down one final glow to kind of give it a bit of a kind of dreamy look. Increase the tolerance and just increase the brightness a little bit. So we're kind of glowing the haze as well. And there we go. And finally, for me, I've got this Real Smart Motion Blur plugin that I always like to use. As one final process, what it does is actually not give you great motion blur, but it actually blurs some of the pixels a little bit, which I like. So anything that you thought was kind of pixelated, it kind of just blurs all these pixels just a little bit. So finally, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write this out into another video. So that's it for this tutorial, guys. I hope you found this useful and exciting and hope you can use these techniques. We'll see you next time.